Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Off the Record with KyleSellsBiz. Today I have another special guest, Yoav Cohen. He is a fractional CFO, and we're going to learn a lot about how to turn around distressed companies. A little bit about the program. We come on every Wednesday. We talk about different aspects of growing a business, merging or exiting. There's a lot of aspects to a business, and it's multiple disciplines, and you need to, as a business owner, you need to have different experts that can help you and guide you along your path, whether it be legal considerations, financial considerations, tax, and so on. Today we're going to talk about how to succeed in turning around a distressed business and avoid bankruptcy. Today we have a very, very special guest. Yoav is also a member in our M&A network, which is a network for advisors that help business owners through transition. A little bit about Yoav. He's a seasoned leader with over 30 years of experience in providing successful financial and operational insights. As a managing partner and CEO, Yoav has a proven track record in M&As, strategic planning, international finance, restructuring, and much more. His rich journey includes co-founding NYC Advisors, LLC, and serving in pivotal roles in various industries. So Yoav, as we kick things off, why don't you share a little about your background and some of the services you provide, and then we can jump into the subject matter. As you know, in this program, we do like to hear stories, and 30 years of experience. There's a lot of stories you can share about different companies you've helped turn around, both large and small. So, welcome to the program, Yoav.
Kyle, thank you for having me. So I started my career as a CFO of private and public companies. And actually 20 years ago, almost to the date, November 2003, I founded NYC Advisors, mainly to do turnarounds and also assisting companies before a sale, which means that I come in, I do a internal due diligence as a buyer, find out all the gaps and fix them. But today we're going to talk more about the 80% of the business that I'm doing, which is really turnarounds and how I successfully turn around companies, and how actually all the companies that I've been with in the last 20 plus years were able to avoid bankruptcy.
Awesome. So if you could probably start off by sharing what constitutes as a distressed company. What makes a company distressed?
So usually even the CEO, the management, the employees, they feel demoralized, unhappy. You have a lot of calls from customers, bankers, angry investors, and competitors waiting to pounce. And I would say more specifically is when a company cannot pay its loans. They cannot pay employees. They sometimes do not pay taxes. And they have personal guarantees that they cannot stand behind them. And therefore, they need some help because obviously the current management is unable to do the right thing in order to turn around the company.
And there's a lot of business like that right now. That are actually in distress, and a lot of times a lot of businesses wait too long, right? They wait till last minute. And I know it's a good saying that you always want to get access to money when you don't need it. Right?
Absolutely.
You don't wait until you are distressed to try to get access to capital to infuse into your business to keep it going or turn around.
So yeah, I would say that first of all, for any turnaround, you really need the money. You can't really just cut expenses and increase revenues because if you could have, you would have done that. So when I come into a company, I talk to everybody, meaning not just the executives. I also talk to employees and try to figure out what's going on. Many times the issues that the executives point out to me are a symptom, but the real issues are somewhere else within the company. It can be in operation, it can be in sales, marketing, and so forth. And then after I look at all of this, I put a plan together and I stay on to implement it until the company turns around back to profitability.
Interesting. So as a business owner, we have a lot of business owners that watch this program, and many of the advisors do as well. Just so that they are proactive, like what are some of the common early warning signs of a distressed business that most business owners often overlooked?
So again, I would say cash flow is probably the main thing, meaning they don't have enough cash to either take regular expenses or pay employees or pay taxes. I think this is really the biggest sign. Obviously, other signs, you can see declining sales, or you can see declining gross profit or declining profitability overall. But the cash flow is really the key to everything, and every company really should manage cash flow very closely. And I'll talk later about how to do it and what needs to be done in order to improve cash flow.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just curious, we talk about when you're selling companies, the buyer wants to see some working capital in the business, and there's always a debate: what's working capital, how you calculate it, how much cash you should have on hand to cover. Should it be 6 months, 9 months? I know you're probably going to go into a little bit later, but just curious, from your perspective, from the businesses you've worked with, how much working capital typically should a business owner have in hand?
Well, I think that 6 to 9 months is essential, but obviously if you're a public company, you need to have for more than 12 months, because otherwise you're going to get from the auditors, even from investors,
Right.
that you're in distress.
Yes.
So, I would say that ideally 12 months or more should be, you should have all the time in order to make sure that you can manage the business. And you also have enough time to make necessary changes in order to make sure that you always have 12 months. Because you can have 12 months cash today, but 3 months from now, you're going to have only 9. Okay, you missed 3 months in trying to make sure that you have the 12 months as a minimum.
Got it. Let's talk about the importance of having an advisory board and building an advisory board. And a lot of times, a lot of business owners are like in this bubble, right? They have these blinders on. They're working every day in their business, as opposed to taking a step back and taking a overall big picture look. As owners, we lose that vision sometimes because you're chasing, especially if your business is in distress. Like every day you're focused on, okay, how do I keep this business afloat? How do I make payroll? How I take care of leases and contracts and so on. So having an advisory board can help in those instances, right? Let's talk a little bit about the importance of having an advisory board.
So usually privately held companies, and I'm talking about small to mid-sized businesses, bigger privately held companies have board of directors or advisors, but smaller businesses do not. And so what I usually advise is, obviously I'm one of the advisors, but I also advise to get a couple of other people, which are a trusted attorney, a trusted CPA, not the guy who just does your taxes, somebody who really understands accounting and all the ramification of the issues that are facing the company. And maybe somebody also from the industry. So as an example, I worked years ago with a pharmaceutical company. They were a public company. They had a board of directors, but still they gathered a board of advisors, mainly people from the industries that were able to help also with what type of products maybe the company should cut, what kind of product the company should develop, where are better markets to sell it, and so forth and so on. And obviously, they relied also on people that had business experience in the industry and outside of the industry. And I would say another thing, when I come to a company, so I'm industry agnostic. I'm saying all the time, my expertise is finance and operation. But the fact that I worked in probably 30, 40 industries by now enables me to come up sometimes with solutions that, I mean, you can call it out of the box, but it's out of the box for that business, but I borrowed them from another business. And basically help, it opens my mind and the owner's mind to other ideas in order to make the business profitable.
Yeah, it's almost like a think tank, right? So you meet with your board. I do like the idea of having not just the professional experts, the attorney, the CPA, but also having industry folks that are actually in the industry, or maybe even having someone that's been semi-retired, have been through the entire life cycle of a company, and they've been through a couple of recessions, and they can pretty much pinpoint what issues can come about when the company is about to get distressed. So opportunities for growth as well, right?
Absolutely.
If you're growing your business, then you're way ahead of the curve, right? You want to move from distress to managing the situation to moving on, no past that.
And by the way, just to your point, there are many you can call it semi-retired or retired business people that are willing to help, either for money or even not for money. They just want to be busy, but they have a lot of experience. They've been through, as you said, ups and downs, and they can help guide the owner also with some good ideas as to how to turn around the business.
Yeah, definitely. And you might even, so some cases you may have to, like you mentioned, you have to pay board members. In other cases, there actually are folks that want that board experience as well, right? They're actually, they're folks that are actually looking to serve on board to get that experience. They may have different agendas and so on. They may be an expert in, let's say, healthcare, and they want to expand their knowledge and serve in other industries, and they may want to get on a board for a tech or manufacturing company.
Right.
So when we started M&A, I decided to put a board together. So you have 12 members. That's on my board, diverse backgrounds, and it has helped. It does make sure that you're going in the right direction and getting feedback, and you're not just working, building the business in isolation. So highly recommend it. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the essential tools that's needed for a turnaround. Right, like an action plan, right? So kind of walk us through that process. How do you kick that off, and what tools you use, and so on.
So the first thing, as I mentioned, I speak to, let's call it, all the stakeholders, the executives, the employees, some of the employees. If there's a board, I speak to the board. Try to identify the main issues and put an action plan. And the most important thing is really to prioritize, because many times you have an action plan of, let's say, 10 items. You can't do 10 items at the same time. So you may want to concentrate on the first 3 and give it, 2 months or 3 months, and then you move to the next 3 and the next 3 and the next 3. Obviously, meanwhile, there are some other issues that popping up that you need to deal with during your plan. The other thing is to have a good budget/forecast and tie it into a cash flow. So a lot of banks, if you have a loan from a bank, they like a 13-week cash flow. Why 13-week? Because it's basically the next 3 months. And recently last year I had a case that I needed to do this 13-week, and the 13-week forecast really helped us to manage the cash very, very carefully. We discussed before, ideally you need 12 months of cash. Okay, but this company did not have that. The lender, once I provided them the plan, they agreed to even provide an over advance to the company, because they saw the way out. They saw that they're gonna get paid within 6 months to 9 months and so on and so on. And so we managed the cash on a weekly basis, very, very carefully. The next thing I would say is you want to meet with your board of directors, all your advisors, and tell them be very candid and tell them what are the issues, and ask for their support. Same with the employees. And here I have a story that I was working with a distributor, and they had a huge warehouse with employees that prepared the products for shipment. And the owner told me, I really, you're coming on board to help me, but you really need to keep it quiet. I don't want people to think, and I don't want the employees to know that we're in trouble. Okay. So as I said, I go and talk to employees. And as soon as I went to the warehouse, started chatting with employees, I said, what's going on? We ship half of what we used to ship. So obviously they know that the company is in distress, or call it underperforming, whatever word you want to use. So I went back and I told the CEO, and we had a discussion with all the employees, but you can't really hide these things. So you better bring the employees on board, get their support. And many times I find out that employees have very good ideas how to fix things that nobody listened to them before. Now that I'm like in the middle, I listen, I bring it to the management, and many times management accept it. Meet with customers. Customers will figure out that you deliver late, and if it's a service business, your service is not good. Whatever the situation is, it's better to hit it head on and say, yes, we are in a difficult situation, but we have a plan to get out. And you explain pretty much what the plan is. Vendors, the same thing. Vendors are calling for payment. So again, I negotiate payment plans with certain vendors. Some vendors that we can't really pay and we need the product and they're not cooperating. Unfortunately, we don't pay them for now. We go and get new vendors, and when things turn around, we make the payments. But you need to, first of all, save the patient, save the company, and so that's what we do. Tax authorities. So again, I find many times that businesses do not pay the taxes, and when I say taxes, not just if you lose money, you may not owe money, but they're not paying payroll taxes. They're not paying 401k that employees, withheld from their check. So again, in a certain company, I contacted a tax attorney. The company owed more than $1 million to the IRS and to the employees. So we got a deal with the IRS. We got a deal with New Jersey, meaning payment plans, and usually you can forego the interest and penalties or some of it. So that's important. Contact your bank if you have a loan, obviously, and have a face-to-face. But again, come prepared. And if you're not prepared with a restructuring plan, tell them that you have somebody that is going to help you with the restructuring plan. Make it and go and present it to them. That's really the main issues that I believe everybody should do when their business is in peril.
So you're talking about some cash management tactics, right? Going to your vendors. During COVID, right, when a lot of companies that were not what's what I'm looking for? Not necessary. What's what I'm looking for?
They were in a downturn.
Right, but there were some companies that were necessary. I forget the words. It'll come to me in a second. And some business had to close down,
right,
or lay off employees. I've seen certain cases where businesses went to the employees to either make cutbacks or layoffs, and some employees just left, right?
Right.
And in some cases, you have some companies where the employees are more loyal, and like you were saying, you have these conversations with your staff and key management, explain to them the situation, and you almost, in a sense, kind of rallying the troops a little bit. Hey, it's a little bit of a down period. Things are going to come back, and when you have a great culture, you can actually retain your employees in a downtime, and the same with customers as well, right? And there are cases where in some businesses where we're not affected, but their customers that order products from them were, and some businesses actually lost a lot of contracts, right? So I do like being proactive. I like the idea you share about that. The bank one is interesting though. Can you expand on that a little bit? So if you have loans due with the bank, right? And now you have cash flow challenges. Do you run the risk of the bank either raising interest rates, or changing the terms of that loan because now they feel like they may not be able to collect on this money? So how do you handle those conversations with the bank?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So usually we're talking mostly about companies that use a revolving line of credit. Obviously,
Right.
you may have also term loans and so forth, but revolving line of credit. And usually you have some covenants, right? And you break them. You don't have enough cash, you don't have enough capital, and so forth. All kinds of ratios. In many cases that I went to and negotiated with a bank, I had to show a plan out. You know, you can't just say, give us 6 months and everything is going to be okay. You have to come and show them a plan, and show them a way that they're going to collect their money. Many times I am actually being offered or, by a lender to one of their clients, why don't you take a consultant that will help you? And once they take, whether it's me or somebody else that the bank trusts, the bank already feels that they have somebody they trust in the company. And if I come and I tell them, listen, here are the issues and here's the way out. And as I gave before an example, the bank gave an over advance because they saw that they will get their money. Now, yes, in an over advance, you pay extra interest and you have to take it into consideration. But obviously, it's better to pay more interest when you see the way out than not pay at all. If you don't pay at all, the companies that I work with, which again, small, mid-sized, the 99%, they provide personal guarantees, which means that it's either real estate, it's money, it can be their life insurance policies and so forth. They're gonna lose it if they don't cooperate with the bank. And so many times when, especially when I'm being offered by a bank to work with their customers, sometimes there's some resistance initially, but when I go and explain to them, look, really your interests at this point are aligned with the bank. The bank wants to get paid. You want to get paid you want to get back your personal guarantees. They understand, they cooperate, and it's working. But you have to have a plan. You can't just come to the bank and help me.
Right.
This is not work. Yeah.
And that was the same thing with the landlords as well, right? They don't want to have to evict and find a tenant. They want to keep that tenant happy.
That
in some
is
cases,
correct.
renegotiating the lease in terms of the lease.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Either renegotiate the lease or pay, get some kind of a payment plan that you pay less, but you're gonna provide it a year later, and so forth. And again, as you said, landlords are very eager to have a plan. It's very costly to evict somebody and then prepare the place for a new tenant, right? So I would say that the theme of everything that I'm saying is you have to be cooperative and flexible. And once the other side see, whether it's the employee, the bank, the landlord, the vendors, whatever, see that you are serious and you are cooperating with them, most of the time, not every time, most of the times they do cooperate with you. They don't want to lose a client. They don't want to lose their job, and so forth and so on.
Let's talk a little bit about communication with the stakeholders, partners, and investors. Like, how do you handle those communications if there's a silent partner? Like, how do you handle those circumstances?
I would handle it in the same way, because meaning, again, come up with, first of all, tell the story, tell the truth, tell what's happening, provide the reasons. Why do you think this is happening? And then ask for cooperation. So if it's investors, many times an investor, especially in startups, investor comes and provide more financing. Banks, as I said, they can provide an over advance. And even if the stakeholders are just shareholders and they cannot provide any additional financial assistance, they need to know what's going on, and they can provide additional help, maybe be your board of advisors and so forth. So again, in my experience, whether I worked in public companies as a CFO or as a consultant within NYC Advisors, I found out that literally, I think 100%, the stakeholders are very cooperative, cooperating, and everybody wants to save the business.
Good point. We do have so Carolyn, she says thank you for hosting this. We have a question from Stanley. Stanley's asking about using diagnostic survey analysis tools. Is that do you use that as part of your initial assessment?
What tool? I'm sorry.
So Stanley is saying there's no mention of using diagnostic survey analysis tools.
I don't know what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so maybe if Stanley, you want to have a follow up to that. I don't know. Maybe he's talking about some software. Do you have a particular? You mentioned the checklist, right? The action plan that you go through. I know you've been doing this for a long time, so you have your proprietary process. Do you use any software? There's a lot of software is available for assessing.
Yeah, but as I said, I talk to everybody, and I obviously analyze the financials, and I analyze any other report that they have, whether it's sales report. I'll give you a very quick example of a very quick diagnosis that I did, which was in a company that was actually a temp agency. They provided the technology people to large companies, mainly for software. And so I meet with the owner, and he shows me the financials, and I see that the gross margin is 12.5%. I said, okay, I'm not familiar with this industry. I go on Google, and I see that the average gross margin is 25%. So basically, he's selling everything at not half price, but he's underselling. So yes, sales were good, sales were continuing, but for the last 3 years, he lost money. And so within a year, he was able to raise prices. We obviously cut some expenses, but the company really didn't have. Most of the expenses were the employees or the consultants. So you don't really need any. I'm not saying maybe there are industries that you need tools. Maybe there are certain companies that you need a different tool to analyze. But the good old fashion of looking at the numbers provide a lot of information. And in this case, as I say, it was very easy to turn around a company within a year. Within a year, they became profitable. So obviously, that was an easy task. But in much more, I can talk about a business that was tougher. It was a public company. They had a very popular product that a lot of returns were coming after 2 or 3 or 4 years. I came in, that was a company I was hired as a CFO, public company. And I said, okay, let's look at other products. We figured out that all other products were good. The company was working on developing new product. We basically discontinued the product, accepted all the return that came under warranty, paid them off. And within, I think, a year, the company became slightly profitable, let's say. A year later, it was more profitable. New products came on board. Expenses were cut. And then the third year, we were able to negotiate with a new bank, not only a new revolver, but a line of for acquisitions. And we did 3 acquisitions. So every case is different. And you just need to see, after you talk to people, you really begin to understand what the issues are and tackle them as needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to say that, working with business owners is like almost businesses is like, peeling an onion, right? So
yes,
they come to you with the first problem, but that first problem is not really the real problem. There's one below that, and there's one below that, and then we are problem solvers, right? So like in our process, client comes in either for exit strategy, for acquisition strategy. We want to see, assess where they're at now and where they want to be. So if it's an acquisition strategy, if you're a $20 million company, you want to get to 50 million. What's the action plan? Is it going to be organic growth? Going to be a mix of organic with business acquisitions, or if it's an exit where the client doesn't have anyone to turn a company over to and need a third-party sale, assessing those issues. But it's a long checklist, and sometimes it can get overwhelming.
Right.
So having a process is important. So I think Stanley's mentioned he has I'm assuming he has a software. If you want to share that directly to myself or you, and that'd be good information. I'd love to take a look at the software you're talking about, Stanley. So I appreciate your feedback. By the way, anyone has comments, we're probably going to go for another 10 minutes or so. So if any questions for Yoav or feedback, comments, be sure to enter it in the chat. We are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and you are watching the Off the Record with KyleSellsBiz. Every week I bring a different expert to talk about different aspects of growing, merging, or selling a company. So we have Yoav Cohen, CEO of NYC Advisors, LLC. And I want to get into a topic that a lot of business owners don't want to talk much about, which is taxes. Because it's two things that are guaranteed, right? Debt and taxes, right? So you have to pay taxes. So how do you go around, the non-negotiable nature of tax payments, and how does neglect in tax payments further complicate the situation for distressed businesses?
So thank you, Kyle. It's a very important topic. So let's first of all talk about payroll taxes. Payroll taxes you have to pay because you are taking money basically from the employees, which is their portion of the taxes. You have also the company portion of the taxes. And that's basically criminal not to pay taxes,
Yes.
the payroll taxes. And I can tell you again from experience, one of the companies that I mentioned that they didn't pay their federal and state taxes, they also used the employees' money, didn't pay payroll taxes for a couple of years, including not the money that was forwarded to the 401k. So that's, by the way, as you say, peel the onion. That's not something somebody immediately tell you, right? So we started looking, we found out. I hired a pension a consulting company that basically took all the data of the employees' payments that the employees deferred for 401k, calculated the interest that was owed to them on that. We looked at what is a good interest, a fair interest, I should say, and deposited the money the minute the company had some more money. Employees found out about it because at the end of the year, you get your 401k statement and where's my money? We were able to work with the employees. As I said, we compensated with interest and so forth. We paid the payroll taxes, but these are things that you really should not do. Period. I mean, there's no other explanation to that. But I do want to say about regular taxes, meaning federal and state. I hear on the radio sometimes advertising, the IRS is running after you, they're not cooperating, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. So if you have, I would advise taking a lawyer that specializes in this, which I've done in several cases, but they can really talk to the IRS and get a plan. And as I said many times, they if you stand by the plan, they waive either penalties, interest, or both. There's no need to go to these other companies that are promising things that they may or may not be able to do.
Yeah, definitely, consult with a tax attorney. We do have a couple in our network that we can refer. So that's great advice, because taxes is interesting, because a lot of times when I'm working with clients, as a business owner, you don't want to pay more than you should be paying, right? You want to minimize taxes. At the same time, how I look at it is that sometimes by being too aggressive on your tax minimization strategy, you could actually impact the value of the company when you do try to sell. So that's where understanding what your long-term game plan is. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, Kyle, when should I think about selling my business? When should I think about an exit plan, an exit strategy?" And you should think about that before you even start the business or inherit the business or buy the business, like from the very beginning, so you can start putting these plans in place to avoid situations we're talking about here, as far as get into a distressed situation. I know when it comes to tackling taxes, you have to really think creatively. Is there any scenarios you can think about where you helped a company turn around? I'm assuming you probably brought in a tax consultant, right, to help in that aspect of things. But any stories come to mind where a client had a major tax situation and is able to rectify that process?
Yeah, I mean, I did mention this one client that owed over $1 million, and so again, we negotiated with the attorney. Again, we had to show them a plan and said, okay, within a year we're going to turn around, we're going to have the money, we will pay, and they obviously want the payment right now. So in this case, the bank helped us. Why did the bank help us? Because even though they had a lien on all the assets of the company, no matter what, IRS comes first. So they figured that they fronted the money, the company paid the IRS, and then was able to pay also the bank. So this was really the biggest tax issue that I faced. Most other companies, whether it's payroll tax and so forth, it's usually for a few months. We rectify it immediately, we pay it off, and go a merry way. By the way, regarding selling the company, I would say, I would start at least 3 years before to prepare the company for a sale. And what that means is you want to have at least reviewed financials, if not audited, depends on the size of the company, but reviewed financials. You want to have all the legal documents in place. You want to have good procedures, written procedures in place. The more you have more order and documentation, the better it is for you to be able to sell the company and actually present it to a wider audience, because sometimes you can present to even private equity, depends again, the size and so on and so on, versus presenting it only to competitors, for example, right? So the more you have good infrastructure for finance and operation, the better it is, the readier you are to sell, and the higher multiple you're gonna get.
I can say it better myself. Preparation is key. Yoav, I can't tell how many times clients call me and call me when they wait till their hair is on fire to call me, hey, Kyle, I need to get out of the situation now. And you deal with turnaround distressed companies. They want me to sell a distressed company, which I like to work with thriving, growing companies, because most people think that when they want to wait till they're at the top of the cycle, the top of the growth curve, and then sell when it's about to go down. You actually want to sell when it go up, because the buyer want to see they're paying for your historical performance, but their return is going to be in the growth of the company. If there's going to be a projection where the company growth is going to be in a down cycle or decline, you're actually going to get less for the business. Dana has a question. She's asking, is any favorite type of company you work with? Are you industry? I think you did mention you're industry agnostic, but do you have a favorite industry you like to focus on?
No, I don't, because I do find that most of the issues are very similar in every industry. It's either the finance that is in trouble and or the operation. It can be maybe they don't manage the inventory well. The example I gave before with the temp agency, which is a service business, they didn't really manage their pricing well. And so personally, I like the challenge of coming into a business and finding out what's wrong and how I can fix it. If it's an issue of sales or marketing and other issues, that's not me. And I have to say also that in most cases, the owners or the executives, they understand the business, they understand the industry, but they are not as strong in finance and or operation. They may not have a good CFO or a good controller. They may not even know what to ask from a good CFO, from a CFO or a controller. So that's really where they get into trouble. And as Kyle mentioned before, sometimes your head is so much in the business that you're not looking outside and seeing maybe things have changed in the industry, which is something that every leader of a company needs to do is also stay on top of what's going on in the industry. What are the new trends? What are the new products? What are the new services? And make sure that you steer the company there in the right way.
You just hit. I love that share, Yoav, because everyone's in a bubble. I always recommend, attend your local trade association, right? Find out what's happening in the industry. You may have other businesses in your trade that's going through something similar. You can learn from them. You probably get a referral from someone, hey, who helped you in your business. Just staying ahead of just keeping a pulse on what's happening. I couldn't agree more. Penny is asking, and this is an open-ended question, from what it looks like here. She's asking, how do you talk to the IRS? My answer to that question is, don't ever get in a position where you need to talk to the IRS, right? But
I personally never talked to the IRS. It was always the attorney who talked to the IRS. They know who to call, what to say, how to say. So I just come in, I present the issue, I come in myself, or with or without the owner, it doesn't really matter at this point. The attorney tells me what type of information I need to gather. I gather the information, and they make the call, and they really do the negotiation. Yeah.
Awesome. Yoav, any final thoughts or advice for businesses that are facing similar challenges?
I think the main advice is to recognize that you have an issue, because many times, unfortunately, people live in their own bubble. They think things are gonna get better. I mean, they know there's some issues, but they don't think it's that complicated, or you need to recognize it. You need to recognize what you know and what you don't know. You don't always need an expert like myself. You can maybe do it yourself, but you first need to acknowledge that there is an issue. And then if you can do it yourself, great. Then, I provided some guidelines. You can find the guidelines on the internet. Maybe if you want to do it yourself, I still recommend doing it with an expert that knows what needs to be done, how to do it quickly. And many times I also say that when I come up with a solution or two, say, oh wow, we didn't think about it. I said, okay, because I'm coming from the outside and I see things that sometimes you don't see from the inside, because you've been in the business and you didn't really pay attention to this issue, that issue. It's not just me, somebody else would come from the outside. And basically look at everything and find these 2 or 3 issues that you were not aware, and you can fix it.
Good point. Before we close off, I do want to let folks know that tomorrow we're doing a round. So we get together once a month with our team, business owners, in a roundtable setting. And our topic for tomorrow is about succession planning in a family business, how to identify the best leaders for the next generation. And we have Dr. Miller is going to be speaking on that topic. And I'm going to cover what personal qualities should younger family members pose to successfully step into leadership roles in a family-owned business. We're going to talk about interpersonal factors between family members can compromise the success of intergeneration succession planning, and how coaching can contribute to better teamwork among family members, preparing them for successful leadership transition. So if you're in the Long Island area or New York City, you want to join us, it's going to be in East Meadow. There's a link in the chat where you can join in tomorrow. Yoav, anything coming up? How can folks get a hold of you? How can I actually put your information in the chat? I'll put it again. But you have any talks coming up, or any? We're doing. We have a session.
Yeah, I think in February.
Yeah, we are getting together next week, and that topic is on.
The topic is, I think, how to prepare your company for a sale.
How to prepare a company for sale. So you get a next chance to pick Yoav's brain. Appreciate everyone that commented and asked questions. The recording will be available on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and we will make sure that's distributed on the comments as well. Yoav, what's the best way folks can get a hold of you if they want to utilize your services to help turn their business around?
Well, just go to NYCAdvisors.com, and there's a telephone there. There's a place to request a meeting. and I'll be happy to chat with everybody.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for joining in, and I just love this is my personal give back, and the reason why I like interviewing folks like Yoav and others is because when I first got into business, you talk about having a board and seeking advice from professionals and so on. Sometimes we have a passion, we have a product, we have a service, you want to bring it out to the world, and you just blindly go out and do it without a strategy, right? So these sessions that we do every week is to give you insight into different industries, how to grow your business. In this case, how to turn it around. We can't cover every single thing in this 45-minute period, but at least give you a taste of some information you can take back, implement in your business. If you need more support, Yoav's contact information is in the comments. You can reach out to him directly. Yoav is here on LinkedIn as well. So Yoav, I really appreciate you for taking the time to share your 30 years of knowledge and turning business around, both small and large. And for those of you that are in Long Island that want to meet us in person, we will be in East Meadow at Tillman Bauman Law Firm, one of the largest law firms on Long Island. We'll be talking about succession planning and how to prepare the next generation to take over the business. So until then, Yoav, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
And see you guys around. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.